And without any further ado, Daniel, welcome.
All right, thank you very much, you. Thank you for being here. And I want to thank you because let me tell you what we're going to do today. We're going to do something a little experimental. I don't think this has been done on a score webinar before. Let's see how well this works. And let's score no. Let everyone know if this works well. Because what we're trying to do is get you unstuck, right? And let me tell you what I mean about that. So we put out that, I'm sure if you're here today, you saw that email where it said, hey, where are you kind of stuck? Where can we help? We're going to look over real examples from your peers today, right? So here's one example I've got on the screen. I picked these examples because I feel like they are broadly helpful. So whether this is your exact problem or not, we're going to share broadly helpful transferable principles, we call them, that can help you in your situation. It's called the universal and the particular. So we have the particular, we have a very specific challenge we can chew on, but with that, we're going to learn things that can help you. Again, here's the basic one. She's talking specifically about selling tickets to an event. You might not have an event, you might not sell tickets, but getting people to see the value in what I am offering, that is the core to what we do. And you talked about a business plan, writing a business plan. You got to make sure you've got value and people can see the value in what you're selling if you're going to write a business plan, right? It's a core to everything in marketing. So we're going to look at real examples from your peers. I think that's the most helpful way to help you because it's not going to just be these broad general ideas and thoughts about what you can do with marketing. It's going to be like, here's someone just like you who's struggling with something. How can we help them? And how can that help you? Because I'm a writer, right? And I'm sure you've heard the term writer's block, right? Marketing too, business. These are creative fields. These are creative endeavors. You can't just color by numbers. And anytime that happens, you can get stuck, right? So I'm not saying this, we're going to solve all your problems, right? We certainly won't do that. But there's probably something, everyone coming in today, right there, wherever you are, there's something you're just kind of stuck on, right? And you just need that idea to kind of get you over the hump. But hopefully we can just kind of push you over that hump to get you moving on to your next thing today. And here's a way you can help make that happen. So one, we're going to show real examples from your peers, as I mentioned. Use the comments section, right? Can everyone see my screen? You can see my screen, right? You?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yep.
Use the comments section, right? Use the comments section to help the people that we're looking at today. So even if they're here, if they're not here, I don't know. Hopefully they can see the comments, they can get ideas. But that won't just help them. I mean, that'll be your good deed for the day. Hopefully that's good enough, but it won't just help them. That'll help you. Because a problem we often have, right? If we're tuning into a webinar, we think it's this video, right? We think it's just like a YouTube and we're watching. No, we are here together at the same time in the same virtual place, right? We can get active, we can be working, we can helping each other out. And by actually helping them, you're having a real problem you're wrestling with. And that's where the true discovery comes from. It doesn't come from, I'm going to be using AI today. Go ahead.
Daniel, for some reason, I can see you fine, but a lot of people cannot see you. They don't see your screen.
Oh.
Now,
And you can
right
see my
now,
screen?
all we're seeing is Daniel sitting in his office.
All right, let's try this again. Can everyone see my screen now?
Now I see your slides.
That's perfect.
Yes.
This is the great, again, this is live. This is the great thing about being live. You're going to see it's live and interactive. I'm going to mess up left and right. It's going to be fun.
Oh, we're good.
Yeah, so we'll go back real quick. So as I mentioned, here is the real challenge someone is facing, getting people to see the value in what I'm offering. That's one example of a challenge we're going to address. As I mentioned here, this is a great quote from a writer. Writing is easy. You just sit staring at a blank sheet of paper until drops of blood form on your forehead. That's how we all get stuck. Whether you're a writer, a business person, entrepreneur, whatever you do, we're going to help you get unstuck. And here's the reason to help each other out, not just because, as Gandhi said, that's, a good thing to do. It's because we need to wrestle with things. If we're going to, business, marketing, advertising, all these things, these are ideas, industries. You might think, oh, I cut hair or whatever. So I'm a hair cutter. That's one thing you do. But you also create ideas to create a better barbershop than your competitor, right? To help you get those good ideas, get in here, wrestle, work on these. By not working on your own challenge, you're going to get new ideas for your challenge, right? You're to wrestle with these things. So use the chat feature. When you have ideas, when you see something that's wrong, when you see something's right, use the chat. Give these people who are going to help today some ideas. Just a little about me. I mean, you said a lot of stuff about me. How the heck do I know what I'm talking about, if I even do? I think the big thing is a few things. One, I've been a copywriter. I've helped with sales enablement and consulting and marketing, and I've done all those things in my career. For the past 16 years, I've been at MarketingSherpa, and I've interviewed hundreds, if not thousands, of marketers with the case studies we write, the podcast. So it's not just the things I've worked on myself, it's all these real examples when we brought them to our audience that I've learned from, which I'm going to bring to you today. You can reach out to me. whoever emailed and sent an example that they wanted some help with, I emailed everyone back just so they could have my email address so they know it's there if they need help. Also, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, just reach out to me if you need any help on any of this stuff. Also, though, I work for a bigger organization, MeclabsAI. MecLabs Institute, the parent organization, has been around since the turn of the century. It's conducted over 10,000 experiments. We have a patented methodology. We have an AI. So all of these things I'm going to be able to bring to bear on what we're helping you with today. Okay, but enough about me. I don't know if we have Chantel Doggett on today. If we do, we can unmute her and talk to her. And if we don't, that's fine, because it's going to be a good real-world example that can be helpful for you. But here's what she wrote into me. If you saw that email, where are you stuck, right? And so she's basically got an event. She's selling tickets. And so if you've got an event, this is going to be helpful. That's great. But the core value, the core thing that she tapped into, and a lot of times when you see, hopefully I'm helping you, but in the way some people wrote in too, there's some good ideas that are going to be helpful, right? And I bolded that part. I'm glad you can see my screen now. Getting people to see the value in what I'm offering. That is the core of what we do in business. As you mentioned, writing a business plan, running an ad, whatever it is, we're creating value and we're getting people to see it. So let's see how we can do that a little better by looking at Chantel's real example. So here are the marketing materials she sent in. You can take a look at these too. If you have ideas, hey, I see this can be improved, do this thing, do that thing, we can do that. We're going to unpack all this. And here's the website she sent in right there, Ashtate Orlando. You can go to it if you want, scroll some more, but that's kind of an idea of the webpage, right? So let's unpack. As I mentioned, when we're going through and doing this coaching, when we're going through and helping other people with their stuff, there's going to be all these transferable principles. That's where it's not just about their marketing, it's about your marketing too, right? And this is the first key transferable principle with the challenge he had. A value proposition is the answer to this question. So I'm not going to go too deep in this. I taught this in our last webinar we had about a month ago. If you look at the slides, all of these slides are source links where we go deeper, right? We're trying to cover a lot of territory today and not maybe go as deep. So for all these, there's a source link. You can go deeper. There's a source link to the webinar I did last time. You can see it. One little tip, if you want to get this right away, just do a screen capture. I've done this when I'm on webinars, and then you've got that link right there. The other thing is I'm going to post these slides on LinkedIn after this webinar. You can go to my LinkedIn, email me, whatever, I'll send them back. But eventually when we get the recording of this, we post it, we send it to everyone who registered, and there'll be all the slides there. But here's the main transferable principle. Value proposition. What is a value proposition? I'm sure you've heard that term. Here's how we define it at MecLabs. It's an answer to this question. If I am your ideal prospect, why should I buy from you rather than any of your competitors? And we're going to apply this to Chantel's real example to show you how this works. But first, let's unpack that question, right? What are we really asking with this question? If I, right? So it's a first person question. So you got to answer this question and you should sit down, you should write it out, you should answer it, you should make sure everyone in your organization understands the answer, every one of your vendors, but really, essentially, every time you're interacting with a customer, you are answering this question, maybe not with your words, with your actions, with everything you do, right? So if that's you as the person answering the question, your ideal prospect, we're gonna get into this a bit, right? You want to serve an ideal customer. You cannot have a forceful, a good, a strong answer to this question if you don't know who you can serve best and who you can't. We're going to get into that a bit today. Again, a lot of these things we're taking a very surface level view, and you can always dive deeper. We got a lot of content, a lot of free content. Why should I? Like, that's what you answer. You're giving them a reason why. This is the thing that customers think every time they see your ads, marketing, storefront, whatever it is, and decide to work with you or not. Right? You've got to give them an answer, that because answer. They might say it out loud, they might not. They might give you 2 seconds of their time, but this is what they're thinking rather than your competitor. So this is really important, right? You need an only factor. You need to understand a lot of times. So I'll give you an example. Back in the early days of EHR, electronic health records. I mean, this was like 15 years ago, probably more than that. I was working with an electronic health records company. I was really excited about it. I saw the different stuff they did. I was early in my career, got like shares or whatever. I was working with them. What I didn't realize at the time, and they ultimately weren't very successful, unfortunately, is all of those things they were offering, there were 1,000 other companies offering them, right? So that's that thing too. You have to understand what is your only factor as compared to competitors. Now, this becomes an answer to a question, as I mentioned, what makes a good answer? Well, you need these things in that answer, right? You need appeal. People have to want it. Exclusivity, that gets to the only factor. They can't get it anywhere else. Clarity, they actually have to understand it in you. And this is a bigger problem than many people realize, because they might understand their industry or what they're offering, but their customers have so much going on in their day, they don't even know what you're talking about. And lastly, credibility. You can make all sorts of claims, but why should they believe it? Now, we've got a real example here. Everyone can answer if they're, if Chantel was on, we'd be kind of going through this with her, but everyone can answer these questions too as they're there. But what does this mean for a real example that we see, this real ad on the screen? What might appeal be? So I'm giving you some examples of questions we're going to dive deeper to give you thoughts about what could your appeal be for your product, for your company. What could your exclusivity be, right? Appeal. So when I look at this ad, what do they get for attending your event, right? And also let me mention too, before I say this, when we're going, I'm just going to use this disclaimer once. All the people here who submitted their stuff, they're very brave. I thank them. I applaud them. They put out their stuff that they've worked very hard on. They invested their life's energy, their treasure, their bank account in, right? It's very easy to pick out all the things that are wrong. There's many things, they're doing right just to get to this point. But to serve you today, to serve them, we necessarily have to do this. We have to pick out, here are all the places for improvement, right? So I just want to put that out there, that we're not trying to attack what anyone's doing. It's really great they've gotten to this point, but we've got to be critical, because the customer, as you know, is ruthless, right? So that's the only reason I'm being a little critical here. Okay, appeal. So if someone sees this ad, what do they get for attending the event, right? I mean, I'm looking at this, it's not clear to me if I saw this ad, what would I even get? Exclusivity. How is this different than any other event? Like, couldn't I get this many places? And when you talk about exclusivity and competition, my next actual, I think the 23rd, or is coming up soon, the next score webinar is about your competition, right? Figuring out your competition. How can you outfox bigger competition, right? The competition for this might be another event. This is a live in-person event. We could see an address. It might be a webinar. It might be a PDF, right? It could be an AI. It could be other things, right? What's exclusive here? Clarity. This is where we talk about clarity comes in. What is global texture management and maintenance? So now, sometimes, like the challenge with clarity and me live opting this now is I'm not in the ideal customer set for this. Sometimes, well, the ideal customer set would understand it. So as long as your ideal customer understands it, doesn't matter if anyone else does. However, I did Google that term, and it doesn't seem to be a commonly used term. So I don't even know if people would know what we're talking about here with global texture management. And second, let's say I was really bought into this and I really wanted to do this global texture management and maintenance on February 3rd. How do I even buy tickets? Does it even cost money? Right? I mean, I'm not seeing that from the ad. Maybe it's an assumed click. But again, that's another element of clarity. What do people want? What do you want people to do? What's the call to action? And lastly, credibility. Who is Shay Doggett? I searched her. I think she's got a little following on Instagram, but I don't know if everyone who sees this ad would instantly know who she is and want to act, right? So sometimes if you have a big enough spokesperson or the big enough person behind it, that could be the credibility, right? So if this, for example, was an ad on how to be a good golf putter, how to putt well in golf, and it's a picture of Tiger Woods and he's going to be there, well, that's instant credibility, right? But other than that it might not be enough. So why can I trust her to teach me? I don't know who she is, right? Right. So I'm looking at this ad through this lens. So you can take these same type of questions, the same lens, look at your own ads, look at your own messages you're putting out there. Now, here's another transferable principle. We don't have to necessarily answer all of these questions in the ad, right? Depending on the ad, if you have a little banner ad, I mean, that might be a lot to ask for an ad. So you just need just enough to get the ask, to get them to pay with a click or whatever the next step is. And then you can do more, what we call a funnel. You can walk them through different steps they can take. So in this case, right, here's the ad. Let's go back. And if we remember, there's also a web page, right? There's the web page. So I'd click from that ad, let's say, I assume this is from what she sent in, now to this web page, get to know us. It doesn't talk about an event. I'm really not sure what's going on here, right? But we have a chance between the ad and the page where I assume, we'd want maybe a landing page where we sell the tickets or to get them to sign up or to take whatever action, right? We have that chance to answer all these questions. And so here's another transferable principle. It's key, everyone can learn from. You want continuity from the email or the ad or whatever you have to the landing page or whatever that next step is, right? It's very rare that there's only going to be one step in what you ask people to do. It's usually, again, what we call a funnel. There's these different steps. Make sure there's continuity between them. Don't see continuity between that ad. I might click on the ad, then I get to the page. I might be super excited. It's a great ad. I get to the page, landing page. I don't understand what's going on here. So here's, I'm not going to go super deep. Here's what we need the ad to do. This is what we call MecLabs. We have heuristics. If you're not familiar with heuristic, it's kind of a thought tool. It looks like a formula. We have many of these. It's not necessarily that you solve them. It's just remembering the factors that you want to have, that you want to use, that you can optimize. In this case, the effectiveness of an ad, you want to attract their attention, generate interest enough to ask for the click. Remember, ask, I said, can I even get tickets? Like, what do you want me to do next? So this is what you want to do. And then you're sending them somewhere else off into a landing page. And the landing page here, here are the 8, we call them micro yeses, the 8 things essentially your page has to answer, right? First, you got to get them to pay attention, engage deeper, all these things. I have links at the bottom. There's a whole course on this. I'm not going to go deep, but I just want you to understand that it's continuity from the one thing you're asking them to do to the next thing. Make sure it just flows very nicely. In the case of what we're looking at here, I don't really see that continuity. So I took this information we had, I put it into MeclabsAI, and we're going to talk about using AI today. I'm going to give you some examples. One of the things, as I mentioned, when I said we really want to wrestle with stuff, and that's why I want to go through and give your ideas of so Michael said, what is global texture? Like I said, right? Give your ideas here, give your thoughts in the comment section about what we're working on, the wrestling with it. And this is where AI can come in too, if you use it correctly. And let me say this. Some people, the way they use AI can be so helpful. The way they use AI is, I say they outsource their brain. You do not want to outsource your brain to AI, right? If you outsource your brain to AI, what do we need you for, right? But we do need you. We need your human touch. We need your human insights. We need that in the business. So what I do with AI is I'm wrestling more. It's helping me wrestle more, right? I'm asking questions. I'm giving feedback. And you're going to see that I'm trying to show you that in some of the responses I do, right? What I don't do is just say, what should the headline be? What should the email be, right? Now, I'll admit, look, sometimes you're busy. You're working on other parts of the business. You're just trying to get payroll done. You're trying to comply with regulations, whatever you need to do, get the supplier set. Sometimes you need to do that, right? AI could be helpful for that. Look, I just need an email written. I need a headline, whatever, fine. But don't make that every time. Try to wrestle with it sometimes. So in this case, I used MeclabsAI. At the bottom, as I mentioned, I shared sources to other articles or videos or whatever way you can go deeper on some of these methodologies. When I show AI, I actually shared the chat. So you can click at the shared chat. You can read all the interaction back and forth. You can start interacting. You can just copy some of the prompts, start a new chat, paste it in, but put your information in, right? So you can start using AI to help too. So in this case, MeclabsAI, I asked that, I gave it all the information, and I said, rank this value proposition for me. And you can see on a score of 1 to 10 how it ranked the different elements and gave it an overall score, and it gave it a rationale. So let's step through this, okay? So for appeal, right, MeclabsAI said, the topic has potential allure, but needs specific benefits to increase desire, right? So again, what do they get for attending the events? What are the specific benefits of using your product, of using your service, of doing the thing you're asking them to do, right? If we had Chantel here today, I'd be working through this with her and saying, let's give them some of the benefits here, right? Exclusivity, right? So in one of her other ads, if you saw, she mentioned a billion-dollar phenomenon, right? Okay, well, that's kind of exciting, right? But what is unique about that event? That's different. Like, for example, the speakers, you only have these speakers show, the thing they're talking about, right? What does your event offer that can't be found anywhere else? What does your product, what does your service offer that can't be found anywhere else? Right? Clarity, right? So when I look at either the ad or the web page, I don't see any details about the agenda, right? As we mentioned, benefits for attendees, like it's not clear. As I mentioned, some of the other things that weren't clear about the global texture management, the purchasing tickets too. But when someone's considering it, looking at an event, they're probably considering, what is the agenda? What am I going to learn here? What are the things, right? For your product, what are those key things that are decision factors that they have to understand, right? So if it's an insurance product, like I would assume there's a few things they'd want to understand about what's actually covered by the insurance, right? What are those few things that they need to understand, and are you clearly communicating them? And lastly, credibility, right? So one of the things that in the ad, if you remember, that had some credibility is it had an actual address of a location where it's going to happen. A physical in-person event has a little more credibility these days because so many things are happening online. But again, like, are the speakers experts? Are there industry leaders? Like, what could boost that further? And if you're using a person, like, again, should I dog it? Like, why is that a credible person, right? So like looking at the ad, right? If we had her here and we were able to go back and forth, we could craft a new ad here. But there might be some changes we can make here. For example, is saying even just a line under her name, who she is and why we should trust her, right? We would have a call to action here on saying, what do we want them to do next? We'd have a few benefits of what they can have here. And even with the main visual, it's based off a specific person. As I mentioned, if this was Tiger Woods or something, maybe I'd do that. But can I show any images that would show some benefits that they would get? So for example, if it was like an interactive hands-on, I think basically what they're doing, this is something with hair, styling hair. If I showed 1, 2, 3, here's what you're going to learn, style hair and this hair and that hair, and you saw more images of kind of the hands-on nature of things going on, right? That would be a bigger way to show the clarity. And then ask for the click. What is the next step? We just have the address here. Is it usually, hey, go to a web page to learn more and to register to buy a ticket, whatever. And in this case, if it's a physical ad, I might even have a QR code there, right? Because then when we get to this page, right? So if we're taking them from here to here, right? That continuity we talked about, then there would be a headline that they would know instead of, a general get to know us. It would be, whatever that call to action was here, learn more. Now, join us at the Global Texture Management in Altamont Springs event. And here are the reasons you should attend. And here's the agenda. And here's tickets. And here's time. Like all of that information on there. Right. So one last transferable principle. This is largely for events, but can be for other things as well. Always think about your next opportunity, right? When you have an interaction with a customer, that is a gift, that is an opportunity. How can you use that for your next opportunity? So in this case, with an event, maybe was their first event, so they don't have any pictures, they can't show previous ones. Capture a lot of stuff there, right? Take pictures, get testimonials, do a survey after and get people saying things, right? Or even if you have a store, right? When the customers are there, that's your chance. Give them a card to give you a review on Google. Have a place they can, a reason they can take a picture and want to share it with other people. If you're a restaurant, give them a $5 discount if, they share it on Instagram, whatever. So always think about how can you use this customer experience once you've got them in, your marketing's starting to work to help with the next customer experience. There's a case study here with MarketingSherpa case study with U.S. Cotton Swissberg brand to see some examples of that if anyone wants to read that. But you can see what they're doing here at the event itself. In this case, they've got an influencer. They've got a nice branded backdrop. You could even have this in the store, a branded backdrop, right? So they've got interviews, they've got pictures, they've got these things they're doing for the next event, right? So that's one. We're about to go on to the next one. The next one is Robin Trivette. I don't know if she's on today. If you happen to see her, let me know and we can get her
No,
talking.
we have Jennifer and Andrea are here, but the other three are not.
Okay, Jennifer and Andrea we'll be getting to in a minute. Let me go through Robin's. First, let me just mention, as I said, we got a lot of free resources you can go check out. MarketingSherpa's got a bunch of case studies, How I Made It Marketing podcast, a bunch of interviews. We've got a whole free digital marketing course. We've got an AI guild, a whole community where this kind of group coaching. I do this in the AI guild. We have classes. We walk through specific methodologies. We got an event coming up February 12th at 2, how to take conversion marketing approach to Agentic AI and RAG. Those might sound complex to you, but it's basically taking the knowledge you have and that you've gained in your business and using AI to amplify that. So there's all these other free resources. When you see the stuff we're going through, we're going to kind of scratch the surface today, but if you want to go deeper, you can. We're going to get to those two. People are probably going to go kind of quick through them, but the next one I want to mention is Robin, because she had, again, this great example that everyone can learn from. So where she was stuck, she was trying to do two things: increase conversion and avoid negative reviews. And those things might sound unrelated. They're actually pretty related. Let me show you. So she gave a really long, lot of information here. I'm going to go through quickly to show all the information she gave in here. One of the things she mentioned that, again, we can learn from what people wrote in too, not just, what I'm teaching. But one of the things she mentioned was she's trying to make it more client focused, right? That's something we can all learn from. How can we make our websites and landing pages more customer focused? We call it customer first marketing. How can our customers feel like they're being put first in our marketing? And she also talks about managing negative reviews. And if you look at her questions for feedback, I really like that third one. There's a lot we can learn from that. Are there ways to prevent misunderstandings up front by setting clear expectations in my marketing materials, right? So her challenge was negative reviews. Well, sometimes a negative review is because we're setting up the wrong value proposition. We're making the wrong promise with our marketing. Then people come through and they're like, wait a minute, I feel like I got burned here. And that's where the negative review comes from. So sometimes with negative reviews, we focus more on the back end of it, right? We're trying to what responses can I say to these reviews? What can I say But versus we're either not pulling in the ideal customer, we're pulling them in with the wrong promise, right? So fixing that not only helps negative reviews, but it helps increase conversion. So let's take a look. Here are her marketing materials. All the way on the right, you can see her web page. We've got her Facebook and Instagram pages as well, right? And here's a transferable principle. This is something you can all think about when you're looking at your page. A key question prospects will always ask prospective customers is this for someone like me? Right? So the challenge we have, we're working on our brands all week long, 40 hours, 80 hours a week, whatever you're working, we're focused on it constantly. We know exactly what it is and who it's for. When you think of go out in the world now as a customer, what happens? You get 100 messages a day, 1,000 messages, all these different things. You don't even know if it's meant for you, right? So what can we do to clearly indicate to our ideal customer? Remember that value proposition question. If I am your ideal customer, that this is for them. And also it's not for other people, right? So when I'm looking at this page, I don't really get exactly who it's for, or if it's for someone like me, it might. It makes some, like, there's not really a headline and there's some other issues here, but it makes some pretty broad promises in these boxes with comprehensive psychiatric evaluation and mental health therapy, medication management. It seems like it could be for anyone interested in mental health. So I'll give you one example of something we worked on. This is kind of quick, easy, simple shortcut that I like to do with any web page. So we had an event called Get Productive with AI. I actually saw someone, I think, who was on that event with us before, might have learned about this from there. We had an event, Get Productive with AI. Well, who is this event for? Right? What does Get Productive with AI mean? If I'm a plumber, if I'm an electrician, if I'm a surgeon, if I'm a school teacher, I mean, anyone can get productive with AI, right? So who is this event for? That was the name of the event itself, right? But then when we went to market, when I made a landing page, look at what I did. I had a pre-colon, marketers and entrepreneurs, get productive with AI. This is a very small thing, maybe you might say, but it lets people know, ooh, this is for someone like me, right? Another thing you can do on your homepage, right? If you have just the headline there, you don't want to get in the headline. And this works for an event. I don't think it works for, most headlines, is you see where it says accelerated version at the top? That's called an eyebrow, right? We're familiar with subheads. You can see the subhead below in just 3 hours. You can put a little, it's called an eyebrow, more like a superhead, where you can just mention the type of people it's for at the top, right? So think about that, looking at your landing page, looking at a lot of things you're working on. Is it clear who your ideal customer is, who you're really focusing on? Now, here's the other challenge. What we say and what they hear can sometimes not be the same things, right? So in this case, again, one of Robin's challenges was some of the negative reviews were from people who were expecting to be prescribed controlled substances that weren't clinically appropriate. So she was saying, essentially, this is not fair. I'm getting these negative reviews. Well, they shouldn't have been getting these drugs. Well, why might they have thought they could come in and get these drugs? Here we can look at, here are messages I pulled out from her homepage and from her social media accounts, right? Where she talks about medication management, right? Fill out a form, 24 to 48 hours, boom, you'll get your medication. I provide medication management for mental illness, right? So someone might see this if I don't know this industry exactly, so what I'm saying might be wrong. I've definitely heard, I know anesthesiologists and stuff, sometimes people have addictions to certain medications or shouldn't be using medications, and they go what they call doctor shopping, and they're seeing who is the easiest doctor that I can get this from. And so putting some of these things out there could get them thinking, oh, I can get medication easily. They come in, it's not true. They leave the negative review. Again, what promise are you making that can be similar to that? So this is a great way to use AI. In this case, I use the market research analyst expert in MeclabsAI, but you can use AI and try to set up, once you create an ideal customer profile, okay, what might the customer be thinking, right? So in this case, I asked MeclabsAI, what might the customer be thinking? And I don't read everything on the screen, but I love reading these because it really helps us kind of get our mind into the mind of the customer. And so in this case, again, I said what we have on the homepage or what we're trying to communicate might not be what they understand. So AI helps us understand what might they be thinking. So here's what AI said. This Robin seems like a solid option for getting meds. They're offering medication management, which might mean prescriptions are part of the package. Nice. There's an option for telehealth. I won't even need to go in person. They promise a callback within 28 to 48 hours after filling out a form, which sounds pretty fast. Also, being a student at Duke University possibly means they're well-versed in the latest practices. I could potentially convince them of my needs during the virtual appointment, worth exploring. And you see needs are in quotation marks because, again, if this is someone who's just kind of out trying to get these medications, this is what they might be thinking based on what's put on the page. So play with AI, do this as well. Hey, here's what I got on the page. Here's my ideal customer. What might they be thinking, right? So then I asked AI, and again, you can see all the share chats at the bottom. You can go in here yourself. You can play with it. You can use these prompts yourself. What are some changes we can make to the web page? I'm getting these negative reviews. I don't want to get these negative reviews. What are some changes we can make to make a better promise to increase conversion? And I won't go through all of them, but you can see some of the revisions, right? Instead of medication management for mental health wellness, talking about tailored to your mental health needs. Some other ones talking about grounded in clinical appropriateness, right? The other ones for the action prompt, explore clinically appropriate medication options. So again, these are small changes where we still want the ideal customer to come through and know we're going to help them. But the people who aren't the ideal customer, we're letting them know we're not just giving it out to everyone, right? All right, here's another example, and this is very broadly applicable. She said, some negative reviews are from individuals I declined to see because their needs were outside my scope of practice. So that is true for the medical industry, but we all have essentially a scope of practice, right? If you're an electrician, maybe you do businesses, but you don't do homes, right? Whatever it is, and you don't want customers to come in who aren't a good fit for you. It doesn't serve them, it doesn't serve you, and you might end up getting negative reviews. You're also not going to increase conversion on the people who are a best fit, right? Remember, prospects ask, is this for someone like me? We get excited when we see, well, this is the perfect fit for someone like me. The more you can dial that up, the more you're going to increase conversion on the right people. You also want to tell them when you're not a fit for them, right? Here's another transferable principle. Keep this in mind. Nobody likes to be sold, but everyone likes to be helped. So you're not trying to convince them and force them to buy from you. You're trying to show we can help people like this. If you're like this, that's great. We can help you. If you're not, then we can't. You should go somewhere else. I love this quote from our CEO, Flint McLaughlin, from a great thing he wrote called Transparent Marketing. It was over 2 decades ago, right? Tell me what you can't do, and I might believe you when you tell me what you can't do, and I might believe you when you tell me what you can do, right? If you look at many landing pages, I'll give banks, for example. They're for everyone, right? We help everyone with everything, right? Versus the bank that says we help someone just like you. Where would you rather go, and who would you believe more? Right, so here's another example. This is a longer one, but I think this is really important. I'm going to read. Again, I asked MeclabsAI, okay, I'm getting these negative reviews. People are saying, like, oh, what were the negative reviews about again? It was outside the scope of practice. So, just kind of feel unfair. Look, I don't even serve that type of customer. They're leaving me a negative review. Why would they do that? Right? For you, why would, someone leave me a negative review if I don't serve that type of customer? Trying to put it through the customer's lens. I asked MeclabsAI, talk to me in that customer's voice. What might they be thinking, right? I'm going to read this real quick. I think it is worth reading because we can kind of hear it in the customer's voice. And MeclabsAI said, I was really hopeful when I landed on Robin Trivett's website, seeing all the mental health services offered like CBT, treatment for anxiety, depression, and more. I thought I'd finally found a professional who could help with my specific issues. The website looked comprehensive and promising with all the listed treatments and specialties. However, when I contacted them, I was told that my particular needs were outside their scope of practice. I felt disappointed and frustrated because the website didn't clearly inform me that certain conditions or needs might not be addressed. After spending time filling out forms and making that emotional investment to reach out, being turned away felt disheartening. I wish they could have provided more clarity on what specific conditions or complexities they do not handle directly on the website. It would have saved me time and emotional journey, right? And I'm not picking on Robin. This is a common problem. She works on that business every day. You work on your business every day. It's clear to you, but it's got to be clear to the customer or we're just going to frustrate them and we're not going to convert them as much. So here's a great example. This is from a case study on MarketingSherpa's website. I've got the link down there if you want to see the whole case study, but you can see what they were doing before on the left. That's the overall landing page. I just picked a little bit of the page to zoom in on. They did a lot of other great things. Look at how clearly they say what their services are, right? It's very clear on the page exactly what they do and who they can serve. So one thing, this is what I'd encourage Robin to work through, you as well, right? Look at your ideal customers. What are the commonalities of your ideal customers? Who do you serve better than anyone? And then also, what are the commonalities of the people who are not your ideal customers? Who is it better for you not to serve? Don't try to serve everyone or you'll serve no one. Then what pain points or goals are you helping them with, right? That really translates into listing out what your services are, right? Here's what we can help with. And versus what are you not equipped to serve, right? Who would be better served by someone else, right? Then when you get to that homepage, right? So here's like a line I might have on there. Robin's practice is focused on serving whatever other ideal customer is facing, right? Filling in what the ideal customer is. That could be on your page too if you're having this challenge. Hey, here's who we serve, this person, right? But it also mentions because Robin has a boutique practice intensely focused on that value proposition, whatever it might be, she is not a good fit for helping patients with boom. Can you imagine that on a page? How honest that would be. If you do this, we serve you. If you do this, we're not the best fit for you, right? All right. Those were the two I was going to go deep in, but I think you mentioned, do we have Jennifer on? I think you mentioned that was one of the people you have on.
That is correct.
All right. Can you hear me, Jennifer? Can you talk to me?
Jennifer, I've turned, you are no longer muted. You can go ahead and talk.
I see Jesus Wadskier on the screen. So I'm not sure if, there we go. There's
There we
Jennifer.
go.
How are you doing today, Jennifer?
Hi, Daniel. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks so much for, again, being brave and putting your stuff up here. So you want to tell us about, I focused a little bit on a specific thing, element you have on the page, but do you want to tell us a bit about your challenge? You just kind of gave us that page, alignfamilies.com.
Sure. So do you want me to explain the services I provide or the challenges I'm having?
Just give me a minute of like, what's the challenge? It seemed like you just kind of wanted overall feedback on the page in general, right?
Sure. That's what I was hoping for. But I guess my main challenge is I'm not sure how to market my service. So my career started, I guess it was in 2000, and I worked with children with autism, ADHD, and other neurodiverse needs. And the type of therapy I was providing back then and still do was meant to support the family as a whole. So it's, you have the child as the main focus, and we would help the parents with supporting the child. So that kind of led me to create my practice now, which is Aligned Families. Where I'm stuck is knowing how to market it in a way that truly explains what I'm trying to do for families. So, I've thought of marketing myself as a parent coach. However, that doesn't really feel aligned. And now I'm leaning more towards a family alignment coach. And yeah, I would just love some feedback from based on your experience.
I hope and think I have your webpage up on. Is everyone seeing Jennifer's webpage?
Yes, you
Okay,
got
great.
it.
That's correct. Yeah, that's it.
All right, perfect. So here it gets a sense. It says family, child, and parent coach. How can I help? We have all this. And it gets down into the family coaching. And here we go. This is the kind of the whole page here. So I want to pull back up my deck. And again, thanks for volunteering, Jennifer. I'm going to focus on testimonials for you. And I'm going to do this in two ways. One, how they're displayed, but two, here's how you can kind of determine where you want that value proposition to land. So it looked like you had 6 pretty long testimonials. Do you have a good, it seems like you might have like at least a few testimonials from clients that you've actually helped serve, right?
Yep, I do.
Okay. So one thing I like to do, and this is where I talk about, I want to, the other thing I'm going to talk about is how we actually have our testimonials displayed on the page. I think that's going to be helpful to a lot of people. But one thing I want to do is talk about how we can use those testimonials to figure out our value proposition, right? So let's go back up when you talk about what you're trying to do. Let's go back up to value proposition, right? Because that is essentially what we're saying, right? So if I am your ideal prospect, why should I buy from you rather than your competitors? And we're looking at these things. And so one thing you want to ultimately do, Jennifer, is play around. There's the bit also, where are we most fulfilled in life? What can we do that's most fulfilling? But it's looking at the marketplace, right? And saying, what is my actual appeal, exclusivity, clarity, and credibility around these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for example, if there's something I feel like I do very well in this space, but there's a lot of potential other options, that might not be a fit. And then I might want to niche down a little more and say, well, it's not just for children and families. It's for middle school students with older siblings that bully them. I don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that just kind of gives you one idea of getting that exclusivity and credibility. Now, the one way to do this, right, and this is where I'm going to go back to your testimonials, and I mentioned that, is I've done this before with AI. It's a great place to brainstorm. What I do is I take all the testimonials I can. I'm going to click ahead to your testimonials, right? So you just had some on the page. I take all the testimonials I can and I give them to AI, right? And then it has that source file. And I tell AI, okay, now I want to brainstorm with you to create a powerful value proposition, right? Because what the testimonials do is they say, okay, here's how I've really actually helped and served a customer in the world. Now let me brainstorm about what would my value proposition be? Because what we're doing with marketing, with advertising, is we're trying to communicate perceived value. What we do when we build our business is we're building actual real value. The marketing, advertising, we're communicating perceived value. They don't know what the real value is until they, interact with us. So if we can take that actual value we delivered, kind of do that brainstorm back and forth, we could hit on something and find something really helpful. Now, the next thing is how we use those testimonials. So I'll get back to that in a minute and ask you if you have any questions about that. But I want to show also how you can use these testimonials to communicate some key things to your audience once you figure out that value proposition. And because I think this is broadly helpful for everyone on the call. A lot of people use testimonials like the way you're using them, Jennifer, which is what I call a wall of testimonials, right? So if I look at the page, remember Jennifer had a long page, we scroll down, there's all this information. Some people will go through and read word for word. Most people won't. What this just says is, okay, you have a few customers that are happy, right? However, what does it take to actually convert someone, which conversion means is get someone to act? I'm not going to go deep here. This is part of our patented methodology. Here are the different factors that will convince someone to say yes to act with you, right? Motivation, we mentioned value proposition, friction, anxiety, incentive, some of these elements, right? So how can we get our testimonials to work harder, right? We can get them to address some of these elements specifically. So what I did, Jennifer, is I took your testimonials and I gave them to MeclabsAI. And I basically said, for each of these testimonials, I want you to give me a subhead I can put on the page and a subhead that will address an element of conversion to get people to act more when they see the page. So there you can see, here's the different person's testimonial, the subheads it came up with, the elements that are addressed. The way I did it is it split up and addressed, each testimonial was for a different element. You might say it's all about anxiety. Let me address that. It might be other things you want to address, but this is just an example. Also, as I mentioned, AI, it'll get your headline in the ballpark. I'm not saying use that headline specifically, but it gets you thinking about what can I use. So here's one that I really like that stuck out to me because I read the testimonial. I didn't even really notice this, right? This testimonial from Yaja Tramontini. And what's the headline? Transform behavior with innovative token system. And that's an example of value proposition, right? So now if I went down the page and I saw that wall of testimonials, and not just a wall of testimonials, I saw that headline. And there's other examples here too, you'll see, right? I'm starting to get an understanding from the testimonials, not just that, yes, someone supports you, but specific elements that help me understand I want to act. And I mentioned that too, Jennifer, because whatever this innovative token system is, I don't know your industry enough to know that much about it. That might be an element of your value proposition, at least according to one of these customers. Innovative. Wow, that was something different I didn't see anywhere else, right? So does it come from, the Aligned Families coaching, whatever, to Aligned Families token system? And then it also becomes an app and an online thing and a whiteboard and a different ways that you use token systems to encourage your children to do homework or whatever that is, right? So that's just one example. Does that kind of, again, I don't think we can solve all problems. Does that kind of give you some ideas of where we can kind of push a little harder to find that value proposition and to use your testimonials to get there and to communicate with your testimonials?
Absolutely, Daniel. This is so eye-opening. Thank you for first off choosing to use my website as an example, because this is really helpful in giving me some direction.
Awesome. Great, Jennifer. I'm glad that was helpful. Let's move on. We got two more I was going to do real quick. I forgot who did you say the other person was on? Is it Andrea on, or who's the other person?
It's Andrea Giles.
Perfect, yes. Andrea. Hey, how are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good. So here is the overall, what you sent me. I have on the screen. Do you want to just give a quick summation of what your challenge was?
Oh, I'm trying to remember.
Well, I'll talk about it then.
Yeah,
and you correct me where anything is, right? So the biggest, the biggest thing I liked about what Andrea wrote in about her challenge is for fun, unique, empowered living. She's a personal development coach, personal growth company. I bolded it right there. And again, this is where I said, sometimes we can learn more from what people wrote in than anything I'm going to tell you. Right? Because as she was writing this to me, I saw she was wrestling with it. Like I talked about wrestle with it. And so here's one of the things she wrote that I really liked. I am selling personal freedom. It's not exactly something people know they need unless they know they aren't free. I think I just hit on something in answering this question. I need to educate more to some, right? I love that,
yeah,
Andrea.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely felt that answer brewing in me as I was asking the question. It's like, wait, okay, that's the answer. Okay, I should still keep writing.
No, and I think you hit on that. And it actually, what I hope is this webinar is an example of that, right? So
Yes, yes.
I hope so, because I could go through, right? And I can show you, for example, I can show this screen, and we teach this in webinars and we try to make it helpful and stuff. But until you know you have that problem, you don't really care about this, right? But if we can get people writing in with their real problems and seeing other people's problems, and all of a sudden, like, oh, wait a minute, I understand the problem, now this solution, right? And that gets to that education that you're talking about that you need. So here is just the top of Andrea's homepage. You can see fun, unique, empowered living, better life for women. And the transferable principle here everyone needs to understand is that Andrea hit on before I tried to teach it. People won't buy the solution until they feel the problem, right? A great example I'll use, and I know we talked about Jennifer does family coaching with kids. If anybody has ever had teenagers, right, or even young adult, right, children, and you try to convince them of something, you try to convince them that they should not, put off deadlines. You try to convince them that they should go out in the sun and get healthy, all these things, right? It's not going anywhere. They don't want to hear what you have to say because they haven't felt the problem yet. Now, if they come to you where they've got that real urgent problem, and you're like, oh, dad, mom, what do I do in this situation, right? What have you done? You've opened this portal where you can then communicate to them. So let's all remember the marketing. Are we trying to shove something at people where they don't understand they have the problem or challenge yet? Or are we cluing them in on that problem and challenge, and then trying to give them a solution, right? So here's one example, Andrea, and this might give you some ideas. This is a very different industry. And I love looking at things from different industries because we don't get so wrapped up in it with our own industry. We just can kind of see some idea from it. So this is a company called Exact Remodel. We did a case study on them. Again, you can see the full case study at the link below. But what they did is it's a software for remodeling companies, essentially. And at first what they did, you can see them before, they were selling their solution. No more underbidding, blah, blah, blah. That's their solution, right? But after what they changed it to, they focused on the audience's workflow and not the technology, right? You can see that headline, renovate your workflow with Exact Remodel. That's just part of the page. It gives you an idea, right? And I was thinking for you, Andrea, is it a matter of showing them, because essentially what you're talking about is kind of a workflow. It's more of a life flow, right? But is it giving them an idea and showing them, here's what your workflow or life flow is now, right? What are you sacrificing? What is it costing you monetarily? What is it costing you in time? And what could it be, right? And so giving some of those examples. So you might call it, for example, like what we're doing here now, we'd call conversion optimization, landing page optimization. You might call it life optimization, and you might have some of those. Go ahead on. Was you gonna say something?
No, it's the wheels are turning. I'm an analyst by trade, so all I heard was cost benefit analysis, and I'm like, why not throw that in on top of the life aspect of it and use my, expertise in that space to calculate the cost of paying the problem on their side to visualize it better.
Exactly. And what you can do is give them real examples, right? Put real examples on the page. Even better if you can make it interactive. Could you put a quiz there? Could you use AI to make it interactive? And we were trying to show them, what we want to do with our marketing is give them a small taste, a small free taste of the value they'll receive once they become a customer and pay. So what can you do? What's one small thing you can do to help them for free, even if they never purchase from you, to show, here's what you have, here's where it could be. And then the light bulb clicks and they're like, I got to go deeper with Andrea, right? If that's just the thing she's doing for free, easy and quick on her page, showing me my life flow, my workflow, life optimization, whatever you want to call about with this quiz, webinar, podcast, examples on landing pages, right? What could you do paid? So for example, if you did landing pages, we talked about ideal customer. Who's your ideal customer set? Could you break down 5 examples of your ideal customer set, right? If you're a working mom, boom, boom, right? If you're, whatever it is, if you're a teacher who works 2 jobs, right? Here's your life flow now. Here's a few things you can do to improve it, right? So whatever that is. And then as we talked about earlier, people are looking for, is this for someone like me? Then you're answering those questions, right? You're educating them, like you said, Andrea, which is essentially what you're doing. You're showing them they have the problem. You're showing them, oh, this is for someone like me. And what you're showing them, when we talk about value proposition, you're showing them your value proposition. Value proposition isn't just, well, we come up with it, let's put a headline on a page, we're great, and we'll optimize your life. No one will believe that. It's
Right.
showing them and helping them experience that. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Great, Jennifer. We're going to look at one more, and then if you have any questions, if people have any questions, you can just fire them at me. We'll do that for the rest of our time. But I want to bring up one more here. This was from Jennifer Jeffers. I don't think she's on the call.
She's not.
But yeah, but a great thing from Jennifer's is, so she had a website, and if you go to simplestencil.com, you can see it. And then she had some very, very specific questions about what should she be doing with a pop-up. She had like an email opt-in pop-up. What should she be doing with a pop-up, right? And here's my answer to that. I don't know, right? So I could sit here, we could be on this webinar. I can tell you I have all the answers to all your problems. That's not true. I don't know what her pop-up should be, how long it should last, what messaging it should have, right? But here's what I do know. Your customers do know, right? So what I was trying to do in these previous examples, right? They had some really core fundamental problems and challenges for their websites, for their marketing. Looking at those, give you ideas to get in the zone, right? Get 80% there. But once you're kind of in the zone, right? Once you get that value proposition set, the headlines, some of those things, the best thing to do is then learn from your customers and test, right? So for Jennifer, she was in a really good ballpark. 'Cause one, honestly, she had probably, we got a bunch of submissions. Sorry, way more than we could get to today in the webinar. And I was trying to pick out the submissions that were most broadly applicable, where we could talk about transferable principles people can learn from. But Jennifer sent me probably the best website of any of them I saw. Like, it's pretty good. It's pretty polished and stuff. So one of the things is she's generally in the ballpark. She's got something good going there, right? Once you get it to that level where you're like, okay, this is working pretty good, that might be an indication you have to test. The other thing is she had very detailed and curiosity questions about the customer, knowing specific things she wanted to learn. Like, that's where we want to get. That's a higher level of marketing maturity, right? A lot of people, what they wrote in was more about them. What's my value proposition? How can I sell more of these things? That's great. Obviously, you need to do that for a business, but we want to transition that to what we said, like customer first marketing. Then once you get down the ballpark, you want to say like, well, how can I serve a customer better? Right? What can they learn from this? What would people want? And she had those kind of detailed questions. So it really gets to the point of just want to kind of test those out with your audience. Here's an example from an interview I did from a very big company, CMO of Avic. I think they're $1 billion company. And she liked to call it proving Suzanne wrong. So she was a CMO. She had a whole department. She encouraged us in her department. Like, look, you might come up with an idea. I might like it. I might not. But if we feel like it's worth learning about, let's test it out. And then sometimes we find out I was wrong, right? So I'll tell you on this call, I could be wrong about some of the things I'm advising because I'm not your ideal customer. Anyone who gives you advice could be wrong. You could be wrong. But the person that is never, ever, ever wrong is your customer. So that's where it comes down to. Once you kind of get this stuff in the ballpark, I want to end with that. You should test. So for Suzanne, gave her some test ideas. It's another great thing for AI. Just kind of, we have the Conversion Pro expert in MeclabsAI, but using any AI, just putting in, hey, here are the things I'm trying to do. Here are the things I'm trying to learn. Here's my ideal customer. Here's my value proposition, right? Once you could build some of those things out that we talked about, give me some test ideas. So here's one quick example. The Hall shared chat is under there. If anybody wants to look and come up with their own test ideas, they can just click the chat, copy what I used, or interact with this one, try to come up with their own test ideas. One of them I liked was what she was testing in her pop-up. We see a lot of email pop-ups. It was a 20% discount, right? So some sort of incentive. That can be great. Can also hurt our margins. So another thing you can test is something more like value-based, not just incentive-based. So for example, like AI came up with join a community of home decor enthusiasts and receive our top 5 stencil design inspirations. Might not be exactly what I use, but that's a kind of good idea of, versus just giving an incentive, which a lot of people are doing to try to get that email address, versus kind of giving some more value, what type of value I can get. So there's a whole bunch of test ideas for that if she gets a chance to watch. So again, there's a bunch of our free resources. You want to join us February 12th. You can learn how to use AI more, to use all of everything you've learned in your life and career, turn it into an AI and get kind of that interaction going versus just a web page. But with that, I want to see, is there any more questions we can answer for people while we're together right now?
We have two questions.
Okay.
I would appreciate tips on breaking into the luxury short-term rental market. Strategies such as using social media posts, Airbnb, etc. Don't get to the right market.
Yeah. That can be a difficult market to break into. So I think two things to consider is one, like you mentioned, Airbnb is figuring out what platform you want to use, if you use a platform. So there's Airbnb, there's different ones, Verbo, there's different ones internationally. I don't know, I assume you're located here, but look at the different platforms and then look at what I would really advise is how to optimize for that platform specifically. Each platforms have their own different little kind of niches. You can do it alone if you want. You can kind of go your own way. That's a lot bigger challenge. If you're looking to break in, that's a good place to start to break in. I'll give you one example. If you, whoever it is, if you write me, we have a case study on this specifically, something small like the visual you put on your listing can make a big difference. We saw there was a visual, I think they changed it from their main visual from being an interior to being the view of the property. I think this was a luxury rental in Italy, and it had just a huge increase. So that's one thing you can do is, again, finding the platforms you want that's the right fit for you, really researching how to optimize for that specific platform. The second thing you could try to do is go it alone. And that's a riskier and more difficult thing. But if you do that, find ways to target again to whatever that value proposition is for you. So if that value proposition is, if it's like beachfront and it's aimed at like luxury for social media influencers so they can like do recordings on the ocean, look rich. I'm just making that up, right? Now you've got a unique niche, a unique value proposition that's different from all the other short-term luxury rentals they can do, right? Then go find out where that community is. What forums are they on? What social media are they using? What are they following? Reach out, ask them, where do they get their information, right? Try to reach out when you're starting out, try to talk to 5 or 10 of your ideal customer set. Tell them your ideas. Ask them, how are they not being served in the marketplace? Where is that exclusivity, right? And once you get that, when you find out where they are, right, where they go for information, that's where you want to, focus, where you want to either advertise or use your free organic post content, those type of things, and kind of build into that community. But those are the two options I see. Research which platform you want to use and how to optimize for that platform, or go it alone, but find that right niche and how to best serve that niche.
Excellent. Mark, can you put your contact screen back up again?
Oh, do you see mine?
Sorry, Daniel, can you put your contact
Oh, yeah.
screen
Let me
up
go
again?
back. I'll go click back to that. Sure.
All right. And then we had another comment here on Robin's case. She could have a 4 or 5 questionnaire at the time of booking or discovery, the discovery call to add to her website.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point too. Yeah, that's a great point too. Like when you're booking, so you can have a questionnaire. So the few things you can have in the questionnaire, one is determining things on how you can best serve them from that questionnaire. Also asking where they found you or why they think you're a good solution, right? That can kind of do what I was doing with AI, try to get inside of their heads. But then then what is the outcome of that questionnaire, right? So if you have the time, it would ultimately, hopefully, getting on a call with everyone, talking them through the questionnaire, doing kind of like an intake and saying, oh, this is the thing that's a fit for you. Or you know what, we're not a fit for you. Let me send you some other resources that might be. That would kind of hurt with the negative resources. It might also help you get word of mouth from the people that are the right resources. If that's too much and you can't do that, then you can either do some kind of email follow-up that would be less of a resource intensive, or just use the questionnaire as kind of an intake quiz, and it could be, hey, I'm so sorry that's not a fit for these reasons, but you can go here. That's an automated way to do that. But I love that. Whoever had that idea, that is a great idea.
Daniel, fantastic presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to see Daniel again, he's going to be with us on January 23rd. Topic that time is outsmart your competition. Even though they're bigger, better funded, they're rivals, but you can beat them. Ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for being with us today. It was a pleasure to have you. We hope to see you again on another SCORE webinar. Daniel, pleasure as always. Did a fantastic job. You helped 116 people today, believe it or not. So it was a great webinar. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks again for hosting you. Is this guy a great host or what? I feel like I'm on a show when he's hosting. Like, sounds like an announcer. I love it. Thank you so much, you.
Thank you, buddy. Have a great day.
Bye.
Goodbye, ladies and gentlemen.